Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Living Day by Day show. We were having some technical difficulties, but you know what they say in church, the devil is a liar. Welcome to the hottest show, guys. This is the Living Day by Day show. I am your host, Lakiba Wallace, and I'm just so excited to have an opportunity just to be able to y'all to see me and me to see y'all. Hopefully y'all come on in and join the Living Day by Day show. If you're joining the show for the very first time and you're wondering what is the Living Day by Day show all about, I'm glad you asked. It is a show that brings you an avenue of information, an avenue of education, and an avenue of inspiration. So we're so excited, just especially in this time, to be able to bring you some information, some education, and definitely to be able to inspire you in this season. Real quickly, I just want everybody to know that even though we're going through this season right now, you have to still trust God. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what you're seeing on the news. I don't care who is saying what. You have to make sure that you're all in for God, because guess what? God is all in for you. If you trust him, he won't leave you. He won't forsake you. You have to make sure that you understand that God's power is strong. Even in a pandemic, his power is strong. So I encourage you all to just make sure you keep your faith and make sure that you trust God and wait on God. He has not forgotten about you. He knows exactly what you're going through. And I promise you, you will win. Well, welcome again to the Living Day by Day show. We have a phenomenal guest that's going to be with us tonight. I'm super duper excited to bring this young lady on. She is definitely no stranger to the social media world. She's no stranger to the medical arena. I'm so excited to have the opportunity to have another phenomenal guest. You know, we don't just be bringing anybody on the show just to have somebody on the show. We don't do that here because we don't have to do that here.
We won't do that.
We don't do that. We won't have to do that. So I'm super duper excited, guys, to present to some and introduce to others to the very first time on the Living Day by Day show, none other than Dr. Ericka Goodwin. How are you, Dr. Goodwin?
I am doing lovely. How are you guys doing today?
Doing awesome.
Wonderful, wonderful.
I feel like I need you to say awesome one more time. That was the most energetic awesome.
Yes.
He
Awesome.
been drinking that Kool-Aid.
He been drinking that Kool-Aid.
Is it red?
That red Kool-Aid, boy. That red Kool-Aid had you running.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
First of all, y'all not gonna talk about me, and y'all gonna leave me alone.
Listen, Dr. Goodwin, listen, we have to just always give a disclaimer, you know, I don't do this show alone. I am honored to have a celebrity comedian, Eric Jordan, the one right there with the peace sign, you know. He is also the host of Living Day by Day show. And of course, we also rock with Elder Brown, because he be preaching.
Right.
Who's also a part of the Living Day by Day show. But I want you just to take some time and tell the people who you are. First of all, I commend you. I applaud you for becoming a doctor. I know that's not just something that you just wake up and do. It's some hard work in that. So I would like to first say I commend you for being a doctor and being on the, you know, just having a heart of health and a level of caring for the people, especially in this time. So tell the listeners and the supporters of Living Day by Day who Dr. Goodwin is.
Well, thank you. Hello. I am a double board certified psychiatrist. So I'm a child, adolescent, and adult psychiatrist. I'm also, I wasn't ready for the dance.
Yeah.
He got stuck on the double. When you said double, he got stuck on the, not double.
Right.
I'm also a best-selling author and an integrative lifestyle coach. I help women who are disgruntled.
I said, wow, keep going.
I help women who are disgruntled and disappointed with life and love redefine and reboot their dreams to attract more aligned people and opportunities. And I have over 15 years of experience in human behavior. So I'm just happy to be here and to be able to help. And my mother always tells me to tell people I went to Harvard.
How do you put all that on a business card? Because you just got 18 million jobs.
They don't all go on one business card. You need a couple.
Okay, you just said, did they call you the doctor, preacher, medicine lady? You just do everything.
Yeah, they call me Dr. Ericka sometimes.
I like it.
Thank you.
Listen, E, it's called multiple degrees and multiple streams of income. You know, the income and the degrees, they just go hand in hand.
I see she graduated summa cum laude. I graduated thank you long.
No.
Hey, you just gotta have that hustle on.
Right.
Hey.
Be able to wear different hats, basically,
Absolutely.
is what that's saying.
Well, of
Mhm.
course, the whole world, Dr. Goodwin, is talking about the coronavirus. And so we wanted to bring you on the Living Day by Day show just to do a deep dive about the mental effects that coronavirus is having on the world.
Mhm.
We look on the news and we see, just recently I saw a young girl who her mother felt like, due to the coronavirus and, people having to stay home, that it was just mentally exhausting to her and she committed suicide. And so there are more stories like that, unfortunately. And so talk a little bit about your medical experience and your medical knowledge as it relates to people suffering due to COVID-19.
Well, there are a couple of different factors that seem to go into that. One is that just by the nature of that we have COVID-19, that people are dealing with a new situation they are totally unfamiliar with. So depending on what you have in your coping toolbox depends on if you even have what you need to deal with it. And if someone had to pick what are the things that seem to be either stressing or affecting people the most, one is the physical distancing, because it's causing people to potentially feel disconnected from other people outside. And then it's also throwing people together in a household that are not used to being together all the time.
Wow.
You look at most adults, they aren't used to being with their kids 24/7.
No.
And most spouses aren't used to being with each other 24/7.
No on that too.
Stop it.
And what happens if
Yeah.
somebody's mama's living with you?
Yeah.
Oh God.
I mean, there are some things that are just due to people being in tight quarters. Then issues that have to do with just being separated, and people have so many different feelings about what it means to be in the house, where there are some people that are literally so stir crazy. I think if they could, they'd run out with their hands up and down like Kermit the Frog, just
Oh yeah.
screaming.
Quick
If they
fast.
could, because just almost the feeling of being restricted and someone telling them what they can't do is traumatizing. So I think on one hand, you have people that are dealing with feelings of anxiety, not even necessarily an anxiety disorder, feeling anxious or worried or nervous because not only is it uncertain, but also there's a scary virus out there that people are really having difficulties with. And that's really scary. And then people are dealing with some very significant financial consequences of COVID. And when you talk to a lot of people, on one hand, they're afraid of someone catching it, but they're also afraid that they don't know how they're going to pay their bills, or if they are a small business owner, how they're going to be able to sustain their employees. And even with the new loans that came out, it's not really consistent who's getting what. So there's just so much uncertainty. People aren't sure what to do. Folks have additional responsibilities. I know most adults had no plan to be homeschooling.
Right. And I know Elder Brown and Eric are going to jump in, but I have this one question for you. So what is the solution? I was speaking to someone before this COVID-19 started, and the young lady was saying her husband was getting ready to retire, and now that he is home and and retired, and she said one of us gonna have to go back in the workforce because we can't be home at the same time because this is just not working. And so now that we are forced, not due to retirement but due to a pandemic, what would be your recommendation for husbands and wives to be able to cope better, and then children to be able to cope better with their parents, and the like with parents to be able to cope better with their children? Because even though we live together, we don't see each other 24 hours a day, and it is very stressful. It's like, okay, I'm used to coming down and just being able to get something out the refrigerator without somebody asking me, can you get me something too? No. So what would be your recommendation when, it's okay for a couple of days, but 30 days into this, you're like, I'm crazy.
You're going to starve today.
You're going to starve today.
I think
Peanut butter jelly sandwiches are going around.
You're going to starve today, for real.
You're going to starve today.
Don't give your kids a Spam. So the first thing is just setting up a culture of communication, especially one important piece that's important to be able to communicate is for spouses or partners to be able to communicate, because people are going to feel unsure. There are times people will get irritable. There are times that people may say or do things they wouldn't normally do. But if you can communicate about what's going on and honestly ask, okay, how are you feeling or what's going on? Or someone can say, hey, I just need a little space right now. Or I'm just a little overwhelmed. That I think it makes a huge difference if people can actually communicate how they're feeling and what their needs are. Because that way as partners, you can do your best to meet those needs, even if that need is space. The next is being able to find creative ways to get space.
I like that.
Some people are in these palatial houses. Some people are crammed together in a 2 or 3 bedroom house and it's 5 or 6 people. And it's knowing how to get that space, because your space is just going to be it's used differently. For most people, the kids are there homeschooling. Now the kids are in the kitchen or the living room or some other place. The common spaces become crowded and there's people. So knowing how to get your space, and especially as parents have to be much more creative about it. And one of the things I tell people, because this comes up for a lot of women, is sometimes you just need some time in the closet or the bathroom.
Yeah.
Right.
Talk.
And
Go to the safe place.
Real talk.
And just have your time to think, or, somebody had brought up, sometimes they need a quiet place to pray or to reflect or to worship or watch their, streaming service. And sometimes you have to pick and choose those places where you can just get a little bit of peace and quiet. With the kids, it's important to keep them engaged. So for part of having them be able to survive this is they don't have the same sense of time as we do, especially young children. So, to sit at home all day seems like literally forever for these kids. So part of it is finding creative ways to keep them occupied. So this is a great time where you can, depending on your children's age, they may not be able to cook, but they can help with dinner, help with things around the house. But it's more of, instead of like go to the kitchen and cook it, let's do this together. It's even if they're just old enough to stir or line things up on the counter, but do some things together, because that, number one, it also keeps them occupied. Number two, it turns into family bonding time. The other thing is making sure that you find ways that they can connect with same age peers. Because a lot of times now that they're not in school, one of the places they would see people their age was either at school or at after school activities or things like that. And now they're not doing that. And since school keeps getting pushed back, they don't know when they're going to see their friends, which can be kind of scary, especially if they're in a household. Most people don't have a set of twins that are the same age. So making sure that you connect them. So maybe having virtual play dates or times where they're doing virtual games with their friends or other kinds of things, so that they still have interaction with other children, because it can be just a little exhausting for them to only be around adults. And it's easy to kind of lose track of that. And the other thing is making sure that they're not on their screens all day, because especially a lot of these screens are connected to the internet, which means they're connected to information. And I'm sure all of you all know, even the information we get as adults between CNN, MSNBC, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, it's a lot of information. A lot of times it's information overload for adults. But imagine kids that are streaming on Facebook or other stuff that are unsupervised. So this is a time I think it's very important to supervise the children when they're on screens, so that they don't get overwhelmed.
So my question, Dr. Do you want to be called Dr. Ericka, Dr. Goodwin, Miss Ericka, thebum.com? I don't know how they're addressed.
We'll do Dr. Ericka. Dr. Ericka's fine.
Okay, so Dr. Ericka, I got 4 kids. Let's just be real. I'm going crazy over here. So what games can I play or so I won't beat them because I'm black? So I just need to know what games I can be playing with them to have fun with them, so it won't turn into call 911, my daddy crazy.
How old are they?
Okay, so my oldest one is 15.
This dude.
My second one, he's 13. That's my son. Then my daughter is 9. I have another daughter that's 9. And then I have a son that's 6.
Well, this is a good time for, number one, you have that one set of games that there's no way to rig them. When you have some younger kids, if they still do like Candyland and Shoots and Landers, that kind of stuff, most of your kids are a little out of that range. But those kind of games, you can't spank anybody because they're games of chant, which is the same way it is with, like, if you play like War, there's some card games.
Right.
That are not skill-based versus, if you play chess or checkers, then if you don't want to just whoop your kids, you got to play down a little bit. You can't be jumping all over.
Right.
You
Tell
gotta
them again.
See, hold on, Doc. I'm glad you mentioned that. See, my wife said, why won't you let your son win? My daddy let me win. You got to learn you're going to lose sometimes. So is that really messing them up psychology when I don't let them win?
I think they'll survive. I think they'll survive. But another game I think that's good for kids, and it works for a wide variety of ages, is you go old school Uno. You just don't draw for them constantly. But, you know, I think Uno is something that tends to be a little bit more neutral. But or you could do like those little dance games and stuff like that and do dances on the TV.
Oh, yeah.
And there are other activities like, I don't know if do any of you have a Peloton?
No, those things are expensive.
But the Peloton app, which is now free for 90 days because of COVID, in the app, they actually have some family exercises. So they have, and the family content is not like exercise forever, but it's the stuff little kids can do and older, you know, adults, mature people can do. They also have family meditations and things like that. So I actually spoken to someone and they mentioned that they were actually using that app and doing evening meditations that the whole family would do together, which would help kind of calm them. But this is a time to do things together. The other thing I think that's really helpful for kids is for everyone, we're trying to find ways we can be in control of things. So this is a time where you're going to creatively think of ways that your child can still have some type of control, such as picking out their clothes or maybe having them help pick the meal, or some people are even doing something where the kids can pick like a theme day every once in a while and they have like pajama day or polka dot day, kind of like when we were all in high school.
Okay.
But some things that help them not only have some control, but also make some positive memories during this time. So it's not just a time where everyone thinks of was they were afraid or they were stuck.
I got you, Doc.
Yeah.
That helps me. So clean up your room day or you get beat day. I got this. Okay. Clean up your room. Let me get all your lunch money day. So I'm feeling you on activities I can do where I can get something and they can receive something too. I think, yeah, cool.
Oh my
See,
God.
I was thinking what Eric really needed was do something like I'm on her website and I noticed that she's into health, doctors into health and fitness. I mean, listen, that is one of the good things that you can try with your family, you know, exercising and probably doing like little, let's see who can do the most push-ups or curls or whatever the case may be, which is definitely energetic and it's fun. Go out into the yard. I don't know how big your yard is, but you know, baseball or football or wrestle or something like that. But that's what I think is a good thing right about now, since we're talking about what do you do with the family. One of the other things that you mentioned, which was the togetherness. I learned just yesterday that the divorce rate is very, very low. The people that were going to divorce are now at home. They stuck. They can't go nowhere. They can't do nothing. You can't go file. Ain't no judge there to award it. So you stuck with, you know, his snoring and you stuck with her hair on the dresser, you know, so in this time, there are several different things that I think that, you know, our viewers, of course, can try to do. But let me ask you this, since we're on the subject of family and we're on the subject of togetherness, what happens with people who like to be in isolation? You talked about someone going into the bedroom or someone going into their own closet or so. How do you get those people back active? Because of course, before COVID-19, we know that there are a lot of people who were, they stayed in their rooms with their headphones on and they're playing the games and stuff like that. So how do you lure them out of that?
Well, some of it's literally almost like going old school or going analog. So, because what you're describing, it sounds like a teenager.
Yeah.
Sounds very suspiciously like a teenager.
Very suspiciously.
And some of it is going back to having family activities, because of the thing that happens with a lot of families, especially when it's hectic and everyone's working and running, that then it becomes, well, here's dinner, you kind of eat it wherever, you do whatever. And this is a time where you can actually do family meals and have conversations and ask people about how they're really doing. And I think that brings in something very important. when it comes for young people is to specifically ask them how they're feeling and how they're doing, and not just assume how they're actually feeling.
Because I'm running out of now later. So I got 1 pack left, and I want to eat that by myself instead of like just giving it out for, tricking people and stuff.
I know some people that are actually keeping stashes of stuff in their bedroom.
Okay, don't say that too loud, because I'm going to have people in my bedroom.
Well, not you. I'm talking about other people.
Thank you.
Because there are some snacks or things they really like, and they're like their kids eat like they've never had a meal in their life.
Right.
So
they act like they're not getting fed, Doc.
Okay.
In my house, these kids over here act like they ain't never had no meal for. Come on now, I don't act like this. Yeah, we not poor. I ain't say I'm rich. You know what I'm saying? We ain't homeless. We got meals, we got food. But you act like you ain't never seen a Dorito chip. You get a bag, you act all crazy with it.
But Doritos, Doritos are much different now that we're in this COVID-19. It's almost like it's 5 chips left. I'm not going to the store. I got to put on the mask. I got to put on my shoes, put on my shirt. That's too much. That's too much. And it's only 4 in the bag. No.
And there's so much food availability. It's and I think that's the other thing, and the reason it's important to have a schedule or a plan.
Yeah.
Because usually everyone wouldn't be home to eat everything in the fridge and everything in the pantry all day. If the kids are at school, they have lunch and snack, or maybe they have breakfast if that's their school schedule. And then at home, there's usually more of a structure. So part of it is putting that structure back where you have your schedule at home mirror school. So this is when you do a certain subject, or you do like PE, we'll do something active then. This is when you eat. This is when you eat. And then I actually saw something really neat online where someone had put little baskets together. One little basket for, it's like the ones that were kind of like this size. They put one basket for each child on the counter and portion out their snacks and stuff for the day. And they're kind of like, well, when you eat it, you eat it.
Right.
Well, it's because they'll do like adults.
Snack allowance.
As us, as adults, we'll sit and snack and graze all day. It's there. It's yummy. You're nervous. What goes better with nervousness than chocolate or ice cream or cake?
Right.
There you go, Doc. Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that way it helps keep them from doing that perpetual grazing too, which number one causes you to keep going to the grocery store. And for most people, quite frankly, it's not, especially if people are dealing with some financial issues or things like that.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily, number one, no one wants to have to keep going out anyway. The more you're in, the safer you are.
Right.
The next thing is there's a point where, depending on how your family is constructed, you might not have money to just be buying randomness constantly because they're eating when they're not hungry. So some of it, if you do it together, that you all model, we're not going to eat just because it's there, and we're not going to eat because we're bored.
Right. Dr. Goodwin, I want to draw your attention back to COVID-19. Of course, Governor Kemp, the governor for Georgia, has reopened the city. And I want to get your thoughts on how you think that is going to mentally affect the world. I believe that we're going to have some people who are going to get COVID, get coronavirus. And as a result of that, they will begin to have some mental distress. The family will also begin to experience some mental issues as well, some stress. And so how do you think that reopening the state right now will have an effect on individually and collectively families due to COVID-19?
Well, I think it's causing people to make very, very tough choices. So you have one portion of the population that potentially may not be eligible for unemployment if they say their job is now available and it's open. And then there are going to be temptations for people to go out when they probably don't need to because things are open. And then there are people that otherwise would stay at home, but they feel like they financially don't have a choice but to reopen their businesses. So I think on one hand, there's a stress of the fact that people have to make a decision. And this is one of those times where when you have leadership, if it's a dangerous situation and you say, hey, you stay in, then that takes away that responsibility of that decision.
Right.
Doing it this way, then everyone has an individual responsibility to make that choice. And I do feel like it's a very high risk choice. And the unfortunate thing is a lot of the businesses that are scheduled to open tomorrow. They're all high touch businesses. They're high contact businesses.
Yeah.
It's I don't see a hairdresser functionally doing someone's hair or someone giving someone a massage in a hazmat suit.
Or without talking to them.
Yeah. So, I mean, the hard thing is that you're putting people in situations where it's really impossible for them to truly be safe due to what they're doing to begin with. Because, you know, nail salons, hairdressers, it's just really complicated. And I think there are a lot of people that have differing feelings about the consequences of not having their hair done or not having their nails done and those kinds of things. So it's a high temptation to go out. And right now the problem is no one knows who has this. And I think that's another stress is any one of us could have this and not even know it and could pass it on.
Right.
And that's the problem with the community. So I feel like this is making it a high risk for more people to have this, which then puts it at risk for the sheltering in place to then have to be reinstituted and to go on longer, which has economic consequences and then people's mental health, because some people do well with being by themselves. Some people have more difficulties with feeling isolated. Then some people are nervous simply because there's a virus. Some people are nervous because of all the consequences of the virus. Or you have people that are essential workers right now that when they go to work, they're concerned about getting it, but they're also just as concerned about bringing it home and something happening to their family. So I do think it can definitely affect people's psyche. Probably most commonly, the things you'll see are depressed mood, anxiety, or irritability. And one thing you see a lot in children is everything looks like irritability. A depressed kid looks irritable. A nervous kid looks irritable. A traumatized kid looks irritable. It's just, and there are a lot of people dealing with losses. And I think that's the other thing we don't probably talk about as much, is that by now almost everyone knows at least one person that had someone they know die.
Right.
And everybody at this point knows someone that has had it.
Right.
There are a lot of people that are grieving or dealing with this illness. And whenever I talk to anybody that's had it, that actually was truly symptomatic, it was pretty traumatizing, because most of them described at some point feeling like they were going to die. So the experience of having it is traumatizing. And then people are just dealing with just the exposure of seeing all of the deaths and then just dealing with people's deaths. And for a lot of people, it's very hard for them to feel like they have closure with their grieving if there's not a funeral. And right now, this just isn't a time when funerals can be safe.
One last question. I know your time is very valuable, but what do you feel the mental state is right now for healthcare workers who are on the front line, your colleagues, other doctors on the front line, nurses that are on the front line? And then also, I think there's a lot of conversations about healthcare workers, but what about the housekeeping team that's going in and cleaning up after this COVID patient has either died or been discharged? What about that? What about the dietary worker? I mean, there are so many other workers in a healthcare setting. They may not be on the front line, but they still indirectly have some level of involvement of caring for and treating a patient diagnosed with COVID-19.
Well, one of the hardest things I think is people having the task of for work having to walk into a situation that they know ahead of time is dangerous.
Right.
So a lot of people are anxious. A lot of people are not sleeping. They're very worried. You have some families where the people feel like their exposure is so high that they're not even staying at home, or they're functionally quarantined from their family all the time because they're going back and forth to work. And there's just so much concern about spreading it. And the other thing that's happening is people have older parents that they don't feel comfortable coming to be with them because they're concerned that they're going to be exposed. And people are legitimately scared. The average healthcare worker is scared, especially because the way we're set up, most people do not have the higher levels of personal protective equipment. So not only are they going in to knowingly get exposed to a virus, that there's a significant amount of time where people are exposed without the highest level of personal protection. Yeah. And then the other thing, between the anxiety and sometimes the anger and frustration, because people are being put in dangerous situations is there's also quite a bit of guilt, where people feel guilty about potential exposure to their family. People are feeling guilty about not feeling like this is something they want to do. They feel guilty about this is not what I signed up for.
We're talking about the doctors and the
Yeah.
nurses, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some of them also feel guilty that they're not in the front. Like I've actually talked to some people and they feel kind of guilty that they're able to be home and safe while other of our colleagues are out and literally in the belly of the beast. I think this is going to have a very long-term effect on healthcare workers and people in the healthcare setting, because it's just a crazy situation. And, you mentioned some people that are very key, and quite frankly, even outside of COVID, just like any other business, we can't function without good janitorial and housekeeping services.
Right.
You just can't. You can't care for people without that. And they're kind of some of the unsung heroes. And there are just so many people, from the front desk staff to your respiratory therapists, they're all potentially exposed. And the other issue we're having is it's not just people that were identified to have COVID, that since testing isn't widespread, a lot of people are having exposure to people that didn't present with COVID symptoms.
Wow.
So almost any patient you see is a potential exposure.
Wow. So we only have maybe a couple more minutes before we let you go. Eric or E, do you guys have any other questions that you want to ask Dr. Goodwin before she goes or preach?
Nope, she gave me great advice on how I can beat my kids and get in trouble and have fun with them.
I don't recall
appreciate
her
you,
saying
Doc.
that. I don't recall her
Yes, you
saying that.
Roy, go back to the tape. I heard it's I can spank.
I
heard
love
her
it.
We'll
say-
resume back.
She said spanking is legal. It's good to go. As long as I give them a treat and let them win every once in a while.
Oh my God.
She didn't say beat them. She says give them beats. Like the,
Right. The beats in the can.
Yes,
Oh,
beats in the
beats.
can. Yeah.
No, we
No,
don't like
I think.
we black, even though we black, we don't eat beets over here.
Oh my God. I'm sorry, Dr. Goodwin. I should have put that in the email, the disclaimer,
I don't know why y'all keep giving people a disclaimer about me. It's not me that you need to give a disclaimer about. It's the other two hosts that I work with.
Oh
They
my
gonna
God.
preach you to death. I'm telling you right now.
Preach, you were going to say something.
Well, I'm definitely honored to hear the wisdom of Dr.
Yes.
Goodwin, but I have to say, once again, if you have not been told, thank you for all that you have done and are doing for the community. People need to know where the strength comes from, and I think you exhilarated that on tonight's show by letting them know. I'm impressed with the fact that there are a lot of doctors and nurses that are on the front line, like you've mentioned, and some of them got to a point that they have verbally have said that this is too much for me. But then there are some who will not make that comment. They will not say it. And we've seen some of them on the news and crying and things of that nature. So it's a really, really emotional time for them.
Right.
And I don't think that they're getting as enough recognition as those, the ones who have gotten healed or the ones who have passed. But I do believe that they deserve a highest recognition because of what they do. They're putting themselves out there on the front line. Last but not least, if someone asks me if that's something that I would do, I would probably shy away from it because mentally you don't think like, okay, I'm going into a situation where, okay, there's no ultimately I'm going to come out of this alive. So I just want to say thank you.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, most definitely.
Well, Dr. Goodwin, we thank you so much for being a guest right here on the Living Day by Day show. Please do take some time and tell all the viewers and listeners of the Living Day by Day show how they can get in contact with you.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me on. This was like the greatest Thursday night ever.
Awesome.
Yay.
We'll have to have you back
I can't
again.
remember what day of the week it is. So you can find me on social media at Dr. Ericka. That's DOCTORERICKA. That's DOCTORERICKA. My parents used all the letters. And the best place to find me on the web is I actually have something that was designed specifically for people in this time. It's a free download of affirmations that can be used during COVID that are COVID specific. And that's at covidaffirmations.com. covidaffirmations.com. It's a great companion to go with your faith to also help you just have a positive energy and find ways to still maintain positivity even though there's so much uncertainty.
That's awesome.
Awesome. So if
Amazing.
somebody's out there, that's how they can get in contact with you. If they just want someone to, be able to listen to what's going on with their family or what may be going on with them individually, that's how they can get in contact with you.
Well, that's my stuff on social media. I'm actually, my new practice will be opening up soon. So
Awesome.
Hey.
All right.
Another thing
There
I'm gonna
are-
put on the business card.
But in case anybody is really struggling, there are a few hotlines that are available if someone needs to call. And they come in handy, especially because there are times where you don't have to even be suicidal to call these, but it doesn't mean someone's definitely taken you to the hospital. Sometimes folks just need to talk and then people can give them resources.
Right.
So there's the National Suicide Hotline, which is 1-800-273-8255. If you're a texter, you can text the word home to 741-741. And that's a crisis line. So you can just text and there'll be a counselor on the other line and they'll text. If you prefer like online chatting, if you put like National Suicide Hotline in there, there's also an option to go to a chat that's online.
Wow.
Awesome. Thank you
Nice.
so much. Great information,
Good.
wealth of knowledge. And it's truly an opportunity, Dr. Goodwin, to have you be a guest right here on the set of the Living Day by Day show. We're going to have you back again, too.
Well, thank you. It was a blessing to be here.
Awesome. Awesome. Be
Thank
blessed.
you.
We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Great time. Great time.
My God, I tell you what, an incredible opportunity to be able to just hear the heart of someone of wisdom from a medical perspective.
Yes.
We have someone who has been in the chat room forever. Let's see. This is Michael Cooper. Let's see if we can bring Michael in.
Okay.
Let's see if Michael wants to join with us. Mr. Cooper, are you there?
I see an M.
Come on in. Come on in. Come on. Come on. Come on in. Come on in. Come on. Hey, hey, hey.
Come on in the room.
Come on in the room, sir. Okay, Mr. Michael, let's see if we can get him to.
You see the M.
I see the M. Are you there, Michael? Michael don't want to talk. Maybe he don't want to talk.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey there.
Hey.
Hey, we
How you
can't see
doing?
you though.
Oh, hold on.
Hold
So he got his
on.
pajamas
Come on
on?
in the room. Hey.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
It's a party.
How are you?
Good. How y'all doing?
Yeah, we only have a
Good.
couple minutes before the show goes off. We just wanted to bring you in and say thank you so much for supporting the Living Day by Day show. You've been in that waiting room and listening and all of that. Tell the people who you are real quickly for about one minute.
What do you mean? Like
Just tell them your
Michael
name, who
Cooper,
you
I'm a
are.
writer, singer.
Awesome.
Okay,
Awesome.
sing, do gospel rap. In the midst of writing a book right now.
Yes.
Just pressing forward,
Come through, Michael. We
Good.
love that. We thank you. We love all of our supporters, and anytime you're welcome to Zoom on in and be a part of the show, and always give out your contact information. You just never know who is listening and who is out there watching you. So make sure you follow us on all our social media platforms and tell the people how they can get in contact with you on your social media sites.
Right now, it's just I am Michael Cooper, #85, or just go to my website, IamMichaelCooper.net.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Michael. We appreciate you supporting the Living Day by Day show.
All right, thank you.
All right. We'll see you next time.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Nice.
Nice. It's so awesome to, you have to, make your fans be a part of, what God is doing for you. Because if it was not for the fans of the Living Day by Day show, I'm not sure where we would be. So we support all of our fans. Make sure you Zoom in again. Right here, Living Day by Day show, guys, every Thursday, 7 p.m. I'm super duper excited about what God is doing for the Living Day by Day show via Zoom. Guys, I promise you, we will continue to bring you some awesome guests and definitely a great show. Make sure you stop by our website, guys, at livingdaybyday.net. I am so excited about the May-June 2020 edition of the Living Day by Day magazine. It is absolutely phenomenal.
Let's
Ebony
get it.
Electra is on the cover. If you don't know who she is, that is Puff Daddy's cousin. I'm so excited about her being on the cover. So make sure you stop by, guys, the Living Day by Day show. Of course, you can do that by going to livingdaybyday.net. And tell the people how they can get in contact with you.
Man, you can reach me on all social media platforms. You can reach me on Facebook at Eric Lynn Jordan. You can reach me on Instagram, Eric Lynn Jordan. And you can reach me on Black Planet, Eric Lynn Jordan. I don't know, Black Planet working right now, but yeah. And then if you can't reach me, the lady with the glasses, that is my business manager, you can reach up. Call her, set it up, we'll book it up. And if you can't reach her, call Preach. He'll set it up, package it up, and put me on the plane. I ain't going on the plane right now, but I will fly out later after everybody get tested.
Preach, tell the people who you are and then close us out.
I'm like Eric, I'm not getting on no plane unless they test the pilot. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? I don't want to be up there. We got to test the pilot. For two things. Test him for COVID and see if he got any cognac in his system.
Come on now.
We good. All right. You can reach me on all social media platforms. Of course, you just type in Preach Ella Brown on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I am there. Google it. It's there. Or as Eric just said, you can contact Lakibra.
Oh my God.
I'm on the payroll, y'all.
Listen, God is
Preach
good.
Ella
God
Brown.
is good.
Yeah.
All the time.
Well, we thank you again, guys, for tuning into another broadcast of the Living Day by Day show. Also, too, I've launched a new show entitled It's Time to Chat. So
It's time.
Follow me, guys. It's time to chat. That show will be broadcasting live every Monday on Instagram Live. I'm super duper excited about that. If you're out there and you want to be on the Living Day by Day show, or you want to be a guest on It's Time to Chat, make sure you hit me up at lakibawallace@aol.com. And until next time, stop worrying, trust God, be blessed. I promise you, God is going to take care of all of us. We love you real good right here on the set of the Living Day by Day show. Be blessed. Peace out, guys. Peace.
Peace.
Peace. We love y'all.